Working Fans Podcast. Cool.
Yep.
All right, here we go. Coming down 3, 2.
Welcome back for another week of the Working Fans Podcast. This is AJ. I'm the former wrestler. We've got Dave, the ultimate fan, here with us. As we do every week, our producer Joe likes to make us sound good and makes us look way more professional than we actually are. As always, you can find us on Twitter, that's @FansWorking, Facebook, Working Fans Pod. We've got email where you can reach out to us and please contact us to let us know what you think of the podcast and for any ideas that you might have. That's workingfanswrestlingpod@gmail.com. We're on Instagram where you can keep up with us at workingfanswrestling_pod. And then you can now listen to us on all major platforms, including Anchor.fm. We're on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Casts, Radio Public, Apple Podcasts, and you can actually check us out on YouTube. Now, it's important when you go onto the Apple Podcasts and YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give us a rating, let us know what you think so you can help us out and we can continue to do what we love and bring you guys in as fans.
Welcome back to the Working Fans Podcast. We are joining you special today because, Dave, there was some big news coming out of last night's final Last Ride episode. Is that correct?
Yeah. Undertaker has basically said that he's, for now, very comfortable calling it a career. He believes he's done. And he did say that he never knows that if, Vince absolutely needed him in case of emergency, break glass. But he's happy and he's content the way his career ended. So for those who haven't been watching, Scott basically goes back and forth on how to end his career. As Triple H says in the documentary, he's constantly chasing that dragon, that final good match. And then if the match isn't his perfect ending, he'll have another one. So basically this all got really bad for him after the Goldberg match in Saudi Arabia. Goldberg got a concussion in the match, and he doesn't blame Goldberg or anybody. He just doesn't want those things to happen. But when that happened, Goldberg goes to the jackhammer, almost breaks Undertaker's neck. Absolutely brutal. You can see it more in the documentary. And after that, Undertaker is thinking, okay, I almost, could have died. I could have been paralyzed. My wife wouldn't have had a husband. My kids would have grown up without a dad. I don't know if I want to be doing this. And so he had a tag match scheduled for Extreme Rules in Philadelphia that year. And it went really well. It was him and Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre and Shane McMahon. And it was in Philadelphia. The crowd was hot for it. Worked out well. And he said it almost worked out too well. But you see at the end of this, he's telling Vince, he's like, I think that'll be it. And Vince is like, yeah, we'll talk. Vince is almost like, kind of like, don't tell me what we're doing yet, Mark. We'll figure it out. But then Vince says, well, I'll follow your lead. And he did that Stone Cold Broken Skull Ranch interview for the network.
Yep, that was a good one.
And then AJ Styles heard it. And AJ's like, he sounded like he had half his foot in and half his foot out. So I figured I'd just call him. Because if he doesn't want to do the match, then it doesn't really matter what Vince says. So he says, it can't hurt to ask. So he approached Undertaker about doing a match with him. Taker's like, man, you would called me 10 years ago, I would have totally done this. Because we could have tore it up. And, and they talked about how some of Undertaker's best matches were working with smaller men like Shawn Michaels, Rey Mysterio, they still put in. He admits he understands that dynamic really good. That was always his best matches he felt, with that storytelling of big man versus little man. And so you're seeing parts of this where he's working with some of the bigger guys at NXT to give him back at the Performance Center. You can see it's kind of winding down for him, and he doesn't even know if he wants to do the AJ Styles match. He's thinking he's not. And then Michelle, his wife, is talking to him, and she's like, that's one guy who's going to give you the career you want to go out on. That's the match you want. And he's like, damn it. He's like, you're talking me into this. So they decide they're going to do the match. He calls Vince, and then he convinces Vince to rib AJ Styles at first and tells Vince calls him up and says, I want you to know we're going to do the match, but he's got this kid in Tennessee he wants to put over. A real big guy. I think we're going to do something with him. And AJ's like, bullshit. We are not doing that. He said, they tried to get me, but they might have got him. I wasn't convinced.
The one question I have is, do they address that send-off at WrestleMania that would have been the perfect send-off with leaving the boots in the ring?
Oh, yeah, they talked about that in one of the earlier episodes. He admits that was kind of his plan, and then he went back and watched that match. And, you know, he wasn't in the shape to really compete and have a good match that year. And he said it was his mistake. He shouldn't have gone out there like that, and it was just brutal to watch. And he said Roman was a complete gentleman about it, never brought it up. But he said he always believed that had to be difficult for him, and he said it was just not the way he wanted to go out. So that's kind of when it starts really chasing it down for him, that last match.
Okay, because to me, I just don't know why you do that in the ring if you didn't know it was a bad match, because that's almost like the perfect send-off. And I'm having a hard time believing that he's even retired at this point, because you do a whole network special to kind of set up your retirement, and you're even leaving it open that you might come back at a later point. So,
yeah, no, there's definitely that room. I will say this. They obviously addressed the COVID stuff and everything, too, and how this turns into like a cinematic match. And he says it wasn't how I expected this to go down, obviously. But he says when it's good, you know it's good. And I said we knew we had something special. And I will say this. I don't necessarily think he's retired yet either, Joe. I was talking about this with AJ before we recorded today, and he's not buying it either. But that being said, I will say this. If you follow the documentary and you look at the career of The Undertaker, if he was going to go out, going out in a cinematic match like the Boneyard match, kind of almost the perfect ending for him, too. If you're not, obviously the boots and the pat and the ring are perfect, but this is also a really good way to end that career, too. That being said, gun to my head, this man's got one or two more matches in him. That's all I'm saying. That's what I think. I think he ends at WrestleMania if there's fans. Now, if there's not going to be fans back for another year or so, this might be it.
Okay, because for me, The Undertaker's got to be one of my favorite all-time characters. The only time I ever dressed up as a wrestler for Halloween, it was a homemade Undertaker costume. I haven't watched the documentary because it's hard for me to see him as Mark versus as The Undertaker. I did watch the Stone Cold one, but to me, it's just that kind of character that I enjoy what he's been. So watching these later matches is hard. And then even thinking of him retiring is kind of difficult. So I think it's just a weird spot to be in. And I just wanted to bring it up because I'm such a fan. And it's like, today's news pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. Not counting a lot of other scandals and stuff going on. We won't talk about here. We'll be the escape for people.
On the one hand, I think it is important. Like, we did have to mention Black Lives Matter.
Sure.
The Speak Out movement is huge because people have gotten away with things for so long. And even though it's taking down wrestlers that we're personally fans of, like former guest David Starr, a lot of people, Legero, Jordan Devlin, just to name a few, Matt Riddle.
Mm-hmm. Matt Riddle, I do want to say something because I was going to say, we do have to remember, don't condemn anybody yet either. At the same time, don't knock anybody. Like, we just need to let everything kind of play out here. And just by all means, any of these women who are going through a hard time, or men in the rare case, feel brave, speak out. You got support, but at the same time, too, we do have to kind of watch out. Like this. In the case of Matt Riddle, there's already been some documents and stuff coming out. There's a history.
Yeah, there's some things, but just getting down to like the heart of it. I mean, it is innocent until proven guilty in this country, which a lot of the times we forget about when names get out there. But the important 100%. Thing is, just like with Black Lives Matter, that the people, like the women that feel like they didn't have a voice before, that they get a chance to speak now. And that's as much as we want to get into it because that's way above our pay grade.
100%.
Plus, people have heard about the bit that won't be mentioned for a little bit going on. Dave's popping. We know Jesse in New Hampshire is popping.
Yeah.
I mean, Randy still thinks we're drunk because we ran with it for so long.
I mean, who's to say? I couldn't see you.
Hey, let's do like any first date and let's leave it on an awkward note. And
I wanted to transition to Undertaker one more time.
Okay, what do you got to say about The Undertaker, bruh?
First, one other thing, too, about that broken skull, interview. I just want to, just a quick sidebar. If anybody ever wanted to, has any interest in that, there's a great story about his first match he ever had with Bruiser Brody on that, which I just think is hilarious. I won't even say it. I'll just tell people check it out. And the other thing is, this documentary is really done well. And Joe's a huge fan. I think most of the people I know are huge fans of Undertaker. Me and AJ are actually more fans of the American Badass gimmick. We're a little older, and I'm not a big fan of the Supernatural thing. However, the greatest gimmick wrestler of all time. That might sound like a backhanded compliment, but it's not. The greatest gimmick character wrestler of all time is The Undertaker. Because it's not really a believable gimmick, but there's nobody that ever worked harder at making it believable and making you suspend disbelief than Mark Calloway, The Undertaker. So he's got my respect. Dave,
this is one of the few times we're going to actually disagree because I'm a huge Undertaker fan. Scott has busted my balls about being a huge Kid Rock fan. But when The Undertaker goes to a biker gimmick and comes out to either Kid Rock or Limp Bizkit, get the fuck out of here. If Mark Calloway's coming out, it's bells, it's the gong, it's druids. You're not giving me this American Badass. And the Devil Without a Cause record, one of Kid Rock's first biggest, one of my favorites. I was even a Limp Bizkit fan from the first couple albums. But I can't put that behind The Undertaker. That's just me personally.
That's you and probably 90% of the people. I do want to point out, when I say me and AJ, I literally mean me and AJ are probably 2% of the population.
I mean,
and me and AJ disagree on a lot of things people know on this podcast. That's just a rare thing we happen to have in common. I think there's a few people, but most people are very much into the Undertaker character.
I want to say Jesse from New Hampshire and maybe Sheaf are also into the American Badass gimmick, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, and I've heard some, but I know we're in the minority, though. I know it just by if you look at the overall body of work and people's response. But yeah. All right, so I got a few people in my corner. You're damn right, Mid-South Wrestling, baby. Bring that. He would have been a great fit, that American Badass at Mid-South.
All right, Dave, how do you want to end this Undertaker segment, bud?
I think there's only one way to it. Working Fans Podcast. Rest in peace. Sorry, that was awful. Go ahead, guys.
All right, so that wraps us up for this week. Thank you again for listening to the Working Fans Podcast. So as always, you can find us on Twitter at FansWorking. Our Facebook page is Working Fans Wrestling Pod. We have email where you can reach out to us and let us know what you think also. That's workingfanswrestlingpod@gmail.com. Follow us on Instagram, workingfanswrestling_pod. And then as always, please continue to listen to us on Anchor.fm, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, all your major platforms. If you're following us on Apple Podcasts, which we are also on now, and YouTube, please make sure you subscribe and give us a 5-star rating. It helps us bring you these podcasts where we get to talk to you and talk with you every week.